Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Carolina Conversation. I'm your host, Shammond Williams. And today we have a great with us, my little bro, man. I mean, he hails from Washington, D.C., Gonzaga High School, to be exact. He was in the 2013 class at the University of North Carolina. He left high school as one of the top 50 players in America. He was also on the 2000, let me see, what year was that they won the championship? What year was that, Nate? 17?
Yes, sir. Most current, latest.
2017 national champion. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the Nate Britt.
Hey,
What's
Shammond,
going on, Nate? What's
nothing
happening with
much.
you?
Nothing much. It's good to see you. Good to hear from you. And I'm glad that you could have me on your show.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I know it's a difference in time for you, but also, Nate, let the people know what you're doing right now and where you are.
Yeah. Currently, I'm in Holland.
Mm-hmm.
Also referred to as the Netherlands. I'm over here playing pro basketball. I think this is my fourth or fifth season as a pro athlete now.
Uh-huh.
Um, taking it all in, meeting new people,
Right.
experiencing different cultures, and playing the game I love while I'm doing it. So that's where
Yeah.
I'm at. That's what I'm doing. We got the last phase of our competition coming up, and then we go into the playoffs. This is the time, kind of the same as college, where we start getting to the nitty gritty.
Yeah. And what people don't know about Holland is it's one of the best leagues. The production there is really awesome. We actually had an opportunity to go there and play when I was in college because we had Serge Zwicker, who's
Mm-hmm.
from the Netherlands,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we went and played there, man. And it was like playing an NBA basketball game, man. And and then me playing in Europe, I had an opportunity to go to Holland a lot, and it's really a great place. It's a really nice place to be and enjoy yourself. And so
Yeah.
I know you're having a great time with the basketball, but it is a great environment to to
Yes,
to
it is.
relax and kick it as
Yes, it
well when you have
is.
when you have a chance. You
Mm-hmm.
have a chance. So explain to him now. You and I. He's probably one of the closest uh, former players. He's my little brother. I mean, we're tight, and so
Yeah.
we've had a lot of conversations over the years, and
Mm-hmm.
I know the conversations that we've had and stuff like that. But explain to people now, how is it for you being a professional?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference?
Man, man. It's a huge difference. And when you're in college, you don't really understand. And the other pros, y'all used to tell us this all the time. Y'all like, look, this is as sweet as it's gonna get in every single way that you can imagine it. It will never be like this again. And
Right.
man, that was true. Those was cold hard facts. And so
Hmm.
being a professional athlete now, especially overseas, is different. When you're in college, you're away from your family and stuff like that. But depending on where you are, it's not too far. So for me, I have family in North Carolina. I'm
Hmm.
from DC, so that's about a 4.5 hour trip down the road. And my people is right there. But
Right.
now is you go a whole season, you'd be lucky to see anyone from your family.
Right.
A lot of FaceTime calls, Skype calls, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And you really have to be independent. And this, you learn that how much of a business basketball really is. You get a taste in college, but it's a whole nother level as a pro.
No
Um,
question.
I've been cut. I've been had unfair opportunities. I've been in situations where it was, look, you here to strictly do your job. I don't see you as a human being or nothing like that. So it's a different thing, especially coming from our school. Our school is
Yeah.
a family. That's how it is. You introduced me to that right away.
Hmm.
And so you don't have that. That's done and over with once you become a pro. And a lot of colleges don't even have that experience to be able to say, I felt a real family environment my whole time when I was there. And for me to have that in North Carolina with you, the rest of our alumni and my teammates, and even some of the younger guys now, it's nothing like that as a pro. It's a rude awakening, but luckily I'm pretty equipped for it, so I've been able to handle it and deal with it. But it's a different life, man.
No question, no question. Uh, uh, a lot of people don't understand that, so it's good for you to be able to articulate that for them. But also, it's a lot of kids that are currently in college that don't understand the magnitude of what you just said,
Yeah.
and a lot of times it can go on deaf ears.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately for you, it never went on deaf ears. It was just now you're like you said, oh, I understand now what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You just, unfortunately, there's a lot of kids. I just finished speaking to a kid that plays here at Old Dominion on the men's
Mm-hmm.
team, and it's like deaf ears. So you're like, oh,
Right.
okay, all right,
Right.
cool.
Right.
So fortunately, that those types of things didn't go on deaf ears for you, and that's what allows you to be a pro and continue,
Mm-hmm.
being where you are and continue
Mm-hmm.
to grow. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Uh, for anybody that's interested in being a pro, what advice would you give them?
Mm. That's a tough question. I mean, it's a lot of things that's necessary for you to know and try to be as prepared for as possible when you're trying to become a pro athlete. Um, I would say the number one thing is use your contacts, use the people you know, use your connections to use that to help yourself be prepared. Because like I
Right,
said, I can't say it's one specific thing, but I could say in doing that, you'll be able to learn and prepare yourself for a lot of things that could happen, a lot of situations that you could be in where, if you don't talk to certain people, you don't have a certain amount of knowledge about the kind of things that you're approaching, you could be in some really bad situations, some really tough situations that are not ready for that could possibly have you not even want to play basketball no more. So
right,
um I would say the main thing is it's always going to be people that you know, whether it's a friend of a friend or a uncle, an alumni who went to your same university, whatever it is. Talk to as many people as you can about what that experience is like as being a pro athlete. Talk to them about the location you're thinking about going to. Talk to them about agents. Talk to them about coaches who talk to agents. Talk to them of every single thing that you could possibly think about, all the way down to packing. How should I be packing for these kind of trips? I would say
right.
that's the biggest thing. And luckily, like you said, I was somebody who listened. So I used I
Yeah,
used y'all alumni. I talked to y'all, I asked y'all questions. I asked a lot of friends and stuff that I had growing up playing basketball that were current pros. How can I be prepared for this? What can I do? So it wasn't too bad for me, but I have had friends, a lot of close friends have rude awakenings when they went and played, especially overseas as a pro
hmm
athlete. So that would be my
hmm
number one advice.
good, good. And tell what you're saying is the information.
Right.
The information is what helps you. It
Mm-hmm.
separates you. So that's something that we try to make sure everybody gets an understanding of. But like today, I found out, hey, everybody's not willing to listen.
All right. Hey, you know
Everybody's
what?
not willing to listen.
Everyone is not willing to listen, and I've been in some situations where I'm one of the older guys on the team, one of the most experienced guys on the team, and like you said, everyone's not willing to listen. You could try to help people as much as you can. You could try to give them as much advice as you can, and sometimes they got to touch that stove to learn, to know what it's about. Sometimes some people just got to have it that way, and so
Yeah,
that's what it is sometimes.
no question, no question. You are now you speaking truth to life right there. Truth to
Mm-hmm.
life. Well, let's go back, man. Let's take a little time. Let's rewind the hands of time. Because this is what the people really want to know. You know what I mean?
Yes,
They want to
sir.
know about Mr. Nate Britt. So explain to us. 2013, there's Nate Britt in DC running shop, wrecking shop there in the state of Maryland, Gatorade Player of the Year, DC Player of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
What made Nate Britt choose the University of North Carolina?
Man, it's a lot of things. I would say the the first thing that piqued my interest is my dad is from LaGrange, North Carolina. For most of
Mm-hmm.
y'all who don't know where that is, that's right next to Kinston. Kinston, North Carolina. Y'all know Reggie Bullock. That's right there. That's their rival high school. So
Right.
my dad grew up there. My granddad was there. My granddad had lived there all the way up until he had passed away. So I had roots in North Carolina and they was all UNC fans. I got a lot of
Right.
family there now to this day. So um, I naturally grew up a Tar Heel fan. And
Okay.
it was always my dream to play as a Tar Heel. So when I was getting recruited, I actually didn't think Carolina was going to offer or take me serious at all. I had got to a point where I know I was still early in high school. It was my sophomore year, but I was ready to get the recruiting process done and over with. I had the top of the top offers, so it wasn't really much for me to wait on at that point. I just wanted to be able to focus on playing, not have to take all these calls from coaches all the time and visits and this, that, and the third. So um, I honestly wasn't thinking about Carolina at first. And I was really close to narrowing my choices and being done with the process. And I took a visit down there. You were there when I took that visit, so you
Was
were
I?
very well aware of what was going on. um,
Was I?
and that was a good visit. My conversations with you was really well. My father being there. Kendall Marshall was there. He's from DC, right around from the area. So he was a friend from home that was also, pushing for me to give Carolina a serious look. And sometime after that, they ended up offering, and I had to take it into serious consideration because, like I said, that's my dream school. The dream school come,
Right.
you gotta at least look at it. So
Right.
that's what I did. And again, I've said this a million times before. I'll always say it. The biggest thing was the family aspect of Carolina. Knowing how impactful the basketball alumni were with the program, how much
Mm-hmm.
they cared about the program, um, seeing how the current guys on the team interacted, how they interacted with the alumni, all of those kind of things. It was like, okay, this is different. This
Mm-hmm.
is. I could already see it was different from afar, but now that I'm in it, seeing it in person, experiencing it, feeling that energy. Now this is a different kind of vibe that they got going on here. This is something I feel like I really want to be a part of. And that's what sold me, As a player, I've always been driven to be at the top of the top. And
Mm-hmm.
I've always been driven to win at the top of the top. So, I wasn't going to choose somewhere where if I win my conference tournament, we not going to automatically be a 1 seed going into the NCAA tournament. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I want that top of the top, and that's what that Tar Heel blue. That's what that is. So, um, that was it. It was the top of the top school, one of the best coaches in the history of the program and the history of college basketball. That was my mindset at the time, and that's clearly proven with his track record and the things that he's done. So I was sold. And I was like, okay, I can win the championship here. There's not too many other places I could do that at where it's actually realistic. That's the chances a little bit slimmer. You go to some of them other schools. So
Right.
that's what sold me.
Well, it makes sense because I do remember the time that you were alluding to earlier about coming on your visit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it like it was yesterday because I was around Chapel Hill living there. And every day I would be in the gym with the kids. I would coordinate the games, but on the weekends, I would never play. I would
Yeah.
play, I would coach.
Mm-hmm.
And and here comes you. You walk in with Chris, and I looked. I said, "Oh, Chris." I knew Chris because he's originally from South
South
Carolina.
Carolina, yeah.
And I was like, "Okay," and they were like, "Well, yeah, they just here to visit. They will play a little bit, and so on and so forth." So I sat down, got him a coaching seat. I said, "Let's sit here and watch this." And I must say, and Lord knows I'm telling the truth. It was one of the most dynamic shows I have ever seen from anyone. I've seen two people put on a show against pros in high school. Two. I only seen two that do it. And I said, my goodness. That was J.R. Smith and yourself. And I remember the first game y'all were playing, and you were being kind of nonchalant, And I said to you, "Hey man, I can't look at this, can't evaluate this, man. You gotta play. Like, man, I need you. If it's in you, pick it up,
Right,
and,
right.
And when I said that, ladies and gentlemen, the game changed.
It did.
And I'm gonna tell you who he was playing against. So make sure that y'all understand the caliber of people that were in there at that time with the guards. It was an older Kendall Marshall, and it was Raymond Felton. And when I tell you, Nate Britt put on a show in there, I remember I said, "Oh my gosh, is this Jesus Shuttlesworth?" And I was killing him. You know me, kill him. Kill him, young fella. Kill him. They don't want to play, kill him. And I ain't gonna never forget this. After y'all finished, I walked in the hall and I was like, my goodness, Coach Rob and Coach Williams came down to me and they said, "Shammond, what you think about him?" And I looked at him and I said, "What I think about him? You better get him so you don't have to play against it." They said, "What? You better get him so you don't have to play against him. And if you don't believe me, go ask Raymond Felton." And I think they went and talked to Raymond, and Raymond told them about how you were and how you played and competed, because it wasn't only, and I remember the last shot that you made for the game winner. I don't know if you remember this. When you drove, and I forgot, I don't know if it was, Brandon Wright. I don't know, it was somebody tall and long. You jumped up in the air, going to the right. You was coming out the right, and you jumped in the air, and they went to block it. And you brought it down just like this, and you shot it left-handed over the front of the rim. And it went up in the air, and it dropped.
Dropped down.
Boom. And I was like, God, game. So yeah, y'all better do something. And so I do remember that like it was the back, like the back of my hand, man. So but yeah, that was a great experience at that time. So let's get back to you choosing the University of North Carolina. So how was it then? Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, that was the summer before your senior year. Did your senior year you went to Oak Hill? Did you go to Oak Hill your senior year?
Right.
Yeah.
Senior year I went to Oak Hill.
I thought I remember that. Yeah.
I had got hurt, so remember I had ended up really missing the whole season.
Right.
I had torn my meniscus after maybe like 4 or 5 games. Ended up getting a surgery. Tried to come back the last 2 or 3 games just because, I had transferred. I'm still trying to, me, I'm trying to play, get every opportunity I can. Not even really fully recover. So, but yeah, that's how senior year was.
Yeah. No question. And so how was it, Nate? Here it is. You're coming to the University of North Carolina. The last time that I remember you being on campus, you had such a extravagant time and put on a show. So how was it, your first time getting back as a freshman and getting in that environment, getting to the gym? How was it for you? Because now you're here.
Yeah.
You're here now for good.
Right. It was, I can't say it was good and bad, but it was an amazing experience for me, and it was also a rude awakening at the same time.
Elaborate on it. Elaborate.
So, I mean, I'm a gym rat. You know me, I'm in the gym. We've been in the
No
gym
question.
together, so you already know.
No question.
So I come in, I see how we getting access to the gym. We got gear. I'm like, okay, this is all I need. You telling me I can come in here whenever I want, at any
Right.
time, and I can hook up my music and do whatever I want to do. Y'all got the guns, y'all got this, I'm good. So for me, that was heaven, because that's like, I've never had anything like that before in DC. The closest thing I've ever had to that was this gym we call Run and Shoot, and that's just a big gym with like 10 courts in there. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
just kind of stays in the gym. But now I got my own personal court to myself, and this is the game court. This is not no small practice gym. I could do the practice gym, but I could do the game court if I want to. So
No question.
that was amazing to me. Again, experiencing that brotherhood right off the jump, that was amazing to me, because as a freshman, you don't know what it's gonna be like. You don't know how the sophomores, the juniors, the seniors, how they're gonna respond to you being there. And it was all love. So
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that a lot too. I think McAdoo might have been our oldest player at the time. Actually, Leslie McDonald was our oldest, and then I think it was Mac, and they always made sure that I was good. Me and my classmates, Kennedy, Isaiah, always made sure we had everything that we needed. We didn't have cars, so we needed to go somewhere. They make sure they would take us and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
that all that stuff was amazing. And then the rude awakening was on the court. So so understanding, I would say one thing, playing at Carolina as a point guard, especially as a freshman point guard, being put in the fire right away, that's a feat. That's a tough thing to do right there.
Right.
It's a lot of responsibility, a lot of expectations. And shoot, you running a show at a top program, like all eyes is on you. So
Yeah.
which that never bothered me. All eyes on me. That's I'm from DC, so that don't pressure ain't a thing for me.
Right.
So that wasn't nothing to it, but it still took some getting used to. It's a different, the fans, the environment, the expectations. It's on a different level.
Right.
For some people, a winning season is over 500. For us, a winning season is at least top 2, finishing the ACC top 3. Anything below that is, it's looking shaky. What we doing, fellas?
Right.
Automatic going to the tournament, at least minimum Sweet 16, Elite 8. If that's not it, again, what's going on? So that, like I said, that was took some adjusting to, and then there was also the adjustment of on the court, what I wanted to do and what our staff wanted me to do.
Right.
Those was way two different things.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Man, so I remember just different instances of me trying to do something, and me, I've never been bothered or deterred from being a younger player or the youngest player.
Right.
I've always been a natural leader, and I've always played with guys that was older than me. So that never bothered me. So I'm coming into Carolina like, y'all nice, but I'm nice too. Like, and
Yeah.
I know what
No
I could do.
question.
I know what I bring to the table. So I didn't have no problem calling shots, randomly calling up ball screens,
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot of things that in my mind was, this is what I do. Like, so
You
I
see
remember
me?
being right. Exactly. Excuse me was definitely the vibe or the energy. I don't remember the exact words, but it's definitely like, hold on, that's not how we do this.
What is he doing?
Exactly.
What is he doing?
Right, exactly. And so
Right.
that was the rude awakening part. And for
Right.
me it was I don't know, I think I had never really been checked like that.
Right.
And so not to say it was a bad thing, but like I just never been checked like that. Usually
Yeah,
when I
there's a
come in
difference.
with that energy, when people respond, they follow suit. You know, it doesn't
Right.
matter the coach, the players, none of that. They see, okay, he naturally does this, and we gonna
Yeah.
follow his lead. And so, and most coaches will just let that rock.
Right.
Nah, that was not rocking. that, that is not how this goes. I'm telling you.
Did he just call a ball screen up here?
Exactly. That is not what we do. And so,
No.
yeah, like I said, that was the rude awakening part. So I had to adjust and
Right.
figure out how to be myself within
The
what
system.
was right within the system. And so, and that's a tough thing. Like I have to say, at Carolina, um, and I have to speak under that staff because I'm not 100% sure how I was under the other staffs at Carolina, but under that staff, that was a tough thing to do. Like from my personal experience, some of my teammates, some of the older guys, that was a tough thing to do. So for me, that was definitely my hardest adjustment. My freshman year, probably even my sophomore year too. And then I guess you could say having that fight between accepting the role that I was placed in, you know,
Yeah.
because I didn't necessarily see eye to eye with that. And so yeah, like that was the beginning of that.
So
And
yeah.
that was the rude awakening for me.
Yeah. Well, in some situations, like you said before, accepting the role is extremely difficult, especially in North Carolina. I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
goes on. It happens. You weren't the first, you weren't the last. I mean, I had to accept the role as well. And it at the time when the role was being placed upon me, I vehemently was against it. Like, nah, like you said, nah, nah, Coach Smith, I love you, but nah, that ain't what I do.
Right,
I
right.
don't play the shooting guard. That ain't what I do. I'm a point guard. You didn't bring me here to play no shooting guard. You brought me here to be the point guard.
Right.
And he was like, no, Shammond, it's going to, it's the best thing for our team, your ability to
Mm-hmm.
shoot the basketball, and so
Mm-hmm.
on and so forth. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
nah, nope, nope, nope. The only way he got me with that, he told me, it gives you a chance to play a lot of more minutes. Now,
Mm.
okay, all
I'm
right, now,
listening.
I don't even fighting this, fighting this a little
Right.
bit. So, but in all actuality, for me, it turned out to be the greatest thing for me because I was able to play two positions,
Mm-hmm.
and being a two, I was able to use my point guard experiences of where at times I want Vince to look, he may
Right.
not look where
Right.
scoring position. So I was able to score in certain ways because I had the feel of the point guard as well.
Right.
And so like you said before, those roles, a lot of times for us at those times, it's like, man, and let me say this, we ain't mature enough to see it. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know how it's going to benefit us or
Right.
benefit the team. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you're trying to take me out of my character, which,
Right.
truth be told, they are. They are.
Right.
They try to take
Right.
out your character too.
Right.
But at that point in time, is I think the thought process is what's going to be best for this team,
Right.
and let's be honest. I mean, you start looking at that nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gift and a curse
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
what may be good for the team may not be good for that kid's career,
Exactly.
and and we all know that those the kids are only going to be in that college environment for so long, 4 years,
Right.
5 years maybe,
Right.
and that's
Right.
it.
That's
And
it.
so if what they're learning or what they're doing in that environment in college doesn't benefit them for after college, I think
Right.
there's a lot of soul searching that has to take place
Mm-hmm.
uh, as coaches.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I said, if I'm ever blessed to be a head coach, the information that I give and what I allow and teach kids is going to benefit the kid,
Mm-hmm.
because I've never seen it where if you make the kid better, I don't see how it doesn't benefit the program.
Right.
The better the kid
The
becomes,
better
the
the
better the
program.
program's gonna be.
Right.
Period.
Automatic. Right.
Automatically. So if we can concentrate on developing this kid holistically, then
Mm-hmm.
our program is going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are like, well, you can't teach this kid this, you can't teach that kid that, and I beg to differ a little bit, because I've been in it now, and I've had an opportunity to develop some really talented kids, and so on and so forth, and some kids that may not be as talented, but they've gotten the best out of their talent.
Right.
I don't think it's that you can't teach them. I think it's, are you willing to take the time
Time.
to
Mm-hmm.
teach them?
Mm-hmm.
You know
Cause
what I
that's
mean?
an
And
extra. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
it's going to be a little bit more work than the next
yeah.
kid, but
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be so beneficial and great. Like that's what it's about, when you can take a
Mm-hmm.
kid from here and make him and put him here. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
for me, that
Mm-hmm.
those are, that's the reason you do it. The
Right.
kid is already here.
Right.
Hey, can you take?
Right.
You know what I mean? But even in that kid that's here, can you elevate them? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that is an issue, because you know families put so much into their kids and training them, and the kids are talented, and then
Yeah.
they get to an institution, they got to get better. No different than the
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
When they're in classes, the professor has to teach them so they can be better, so they
Right.
can go and compete for the best jobs in the world. It has
Right.
to be the same thought process when it comes to coaching as
Right.
well.
Right.
And so, I went off on a little tangent right there. Bring it on back, but
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying from your freshman and sophomore year. Now,
Mm-hmm.
let's get to your junior year. Now, your junior year, now y'all are kind of entrenched.
Mm-hmm.
Guys got some experience under their belt. You got,
Mm-hmm.
you got a pretty good senior and leader. He's been, a starter 4 years in Marcus
Right.
and Page. And so what were your thoughts about that team going into your junior year?
Before we move on, let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up for Bet Rivers yet, now is the time, because they are offering a $250 match bonus for your first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one playthrough to turn your bonus into cash money. With their rush pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, it's more secure, and it's more reliable. Now that basketball season is tipping off, get in on the action at betrivers.com today, or by downloading the BetRivers iOS app. You must be 21 years or older. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while I got you here, let's talk about the Field of 68 Media Network, where college basketball matters most all year round. This is a digital media and podcast network that we've been building over the course of the last year. We have shows hosted by some of your favorite players covering the program that they love the most. AJ Guyton hosts the House of Hoosier. Eric Devendorf covers Syracuse on the scorer's table. Dan Dickow hosts the Gonzaga Bulldog broadcast. We have Florida's Patrick Young and Duke's Andre Dawkins and North Carolina's Shammond Williams and Michigan's Stu Douglas and Illinois' Deion Thomas. The list goes on and on and on. We have more than 30 shows right now. So hit the links below and check them all out. And while you're at it, make sure that you go check out the Field of 12 Media Network, your home for college football.
Going into my junior year, let me think of who we lost. So my junior year, we had lost JP. JP wasn't with us no more. That's when I think he entered the draft after that, my sophomore season. We didn't have J Mac. We didn't have who else did we lose? I think that might be it. So we're coming in Bryce Johnson, Marcus Page, Joel James, my class, me, Kennedy Meeks, Isaiah Hicks, and then you got the young guys up under us, Joel, Theo, Justin Jackson, and And then even after them, you had, I think, Kenny and Luke.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got a decent freshman class, not necessarily jumping off the page class, but you seen they work after they 4 years, so I don't even have to go into that. But we got a solid squad, and the guys up under us have some experience now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, we got our seniors at this point, Marcus, Joel James, and Bryce. So we was locked and loaded and ready to go. To be honest, the way our program ran, the way our staff, was normally successful, you needed seasoned guys. And so we were those seasoned guys. And it was really win time at that point. It took a couple of years to learn. And then, like I said, we had those juniors. I would say between that class of Marcus and them as seniors and me, Kennedy, Isaiah being juniors, we had seen it all at that point. All of us had played as freshmen, all of us had played a lot as sophomores if we didn't play a lot as freshmen. So we've been in the trenches. We know the difference when it gets to the ACC tournament. We know that's a whole different level of basketball. We know the difference it gets to the NCAA tournament. We know how easily you could be bounced out. We've been through all of that. So, like I said, it was wintertime, and we was rocking. Like, honestly, I think a lot of people debate on my senior and my junior which team was better, because both years we went to the championship. 1 year we won, 1 year we lost. But I think we had more firepower my junior year when Marcus, Bryce, and Joel, when they were seniors. So, like I said, it was winning time, and we was locked in. I knew my role on the team. Still wanted to play more, wanted to start, all of that. I'm always going to want to do that, but I knew pretty much where I was at. So, and everyone else did as well. Coach Williams did a good job, and our staff did a good job of kind of setting that tone for us to gel well as a team, and have that good chemistry on the court. So, like I said, it was winning time at that point. We had a great season that season. Just didn't turn out the way we wanted it to.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, being in that championship game. I mean, you guys had done the work, had got to the Final Four. And there it was, the most interesting thing is, the caveat, here it is, you're facing your brother, in Villanova. And so, all the times that y'all had spent together there in DC in y'all home and playing with each other. And probably very few times y'all played against each other, but both of you are extremely competitive. And there it was. Both of you playing against each other in the national championship game. I mean, your mom and dad, they got it split up, the Villanova, you know what I mean? Like, they're the best of both worlds. They're gonna win regardless. They're gonna win regardless. But your situation is probably different than anybody's in college basketball history. Here it is, national championship game. Two guys come out the same household playing against each other. How was that for you? Give us, that thought, knowing that, hey man, I know. So I already know what time it is, but the people, the people that's listening, they want to know for sure.
Right. Exactly what it was. It was actually so the tournament's progressing, right? So every year we're talking to each other, paying attention to each other, how we're doing, right? And so it starts getting there where it's like, okay, we might could meet up. Like let's, and that's kind of how it was every year. Cause I think every year we might've been on opposite sides. So that, it was always the goal, but you talk about it, but we keep getting closer. And it's like, okay, we might can do this. Keep getting closer. I think Chris and them, Villanova's played their game first, I think, to go to the Final Four. And I think that's when Chris was like, okay, now I gotta go and see Nate play, because they now they got their game tomorrow to go to the Final Four. And if we both go to the Final Four, that's, we're not even talking about playing each other yet. We both trying to get to the Final Four. So I think that's the game we played Indiana, which I love how we beat them, because they was talking so crazy, talking about they're a transition team and they get up and down. We might not be able to hang with them. I'm like, you know how we are. They a transition team. They a transition team this year. We a transition program. Like, this is forever. So
they meant like public transportation.
Right, something like that. Had to be something different. Had to be something different. So we ran them out the gym, and now we're in the Final Four. So now it's actually like, okay, we gonna end up playing each other, because I think they had to play Oklahoma, and we had to play Syracuse. We knew that we could get Syracuse. Obviously, that's a conference team that we played against, and so it was them. Could they get Oklahoma? That's when they had Buddy Hield, and he was going crazy. So they ended up getting their win, and we got our win. So now the media is going crazy. They was already talking about it, but now it's really going crazy. And honestly, for me, I could say this now, it was a little bit annoyingly overwhelming how many questions and how much people was talking about it, because at the end of the day, we do come from the same household. We are family, but we both individually are locked into winning the championship. That's how we got to this point anyway. We didn't get to this point because we was like, oh, we might be able to play each other or something. Like, nah, it had nothing to do with that. It was about his team, and his mind was set on winning the championship. Same thing with us. My team and my mind was set on winning the championship. Okay, we might play each other. That's nice, but we trying to win the championship. And so when it got to that point, I don't even remember us actually talking that much, to be honest. Gotcha. And so it was, we just both knew what it was. Like, Chris and I have been competing for so long. People don't understand, like, every single drill in the gym, I'm trying to outshoot him, because he shoot the snot out the ball. So I'm trying to outshoot him every single drill. One-on-ones. I remember the first time we played one-on-one, I'm almost fighting him. I'm crying because he bigger than me. We like 10, 11 or 11, 12. And he busting me the whole game, posting me up, all this down the third. So, like, you got to understand, this is brewing from 11 years old to this point. So, yeah, so this is bragging rights. This is everything right here. And that's, as big as that seems, that was still a small part of what was going on. Because like I said, individually, we were set on, we were trying to win this championship with our team. And at a certain point, outside of our own rivalry, like between us as family, as brothers, it was this team, they in the way. What we trying to do? That's how it was when we win the game. Like, before the game, with a little dap up, something real slight. Probably wouldn't even know we was brothers or lived together. Like, it was that kind of slight. Like, this is the opposition right here. This is not. We are not family today. This is the only reason why you might be able to say that we was family, or no, is because when we were in the game, at the same time, it was a possession where he was guarding me. You knew the shot was going up. The shot went up. The shot was going up. Coach Williams could have called whatever he wanted to call. That one possession, the shot was going up. It was another possession. I had got switched off onto him. I'm full out denial. You're not getting the ball to even get the shot up. Like, that's not how we play it. But this is denial. But other than that, like I said, you wouldn't have known, and you would only been able to tell that from knowing Chris and I's history. We playing on the same team, still competing. I'm trying to get more buckets than you today. So that's just what it was. And
Right.
that's what the experience was. And then when it was all said and done, it was back to the normal family. Like, I couldn't be more than happy for him. You know, it
Yeah.
hurt that we lost the game, but like you said, for my family, it was a win-win. For me, it was still a win-win. Like,
Right.
it was an accomplishment to go to the Final Four. It was an accomplishment to play in the championship game. And then if I was going to lose, I wouldn't have wanted to lose no other way. Like,
Right.
it's a catch-22 because it's in some aspects of it, it's like I wouldn't want to lose that way because of the bragging rights. But when you think bigger picture, it's like I wouldn't. That's the only way I probably would have wanted to lose, is by him hitting a shot to win the game. You know, a buzzer beater like that. So
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that buzzer beater, because
mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys had done a great job. I mean, it was a great game. Y'all had fought back. Marcus hit the tremendous shot. You know, one of
Right.
the wildest shots ever to be hit in the NCAA, finals. Did you think when that ball was coming down, did you think that Chris would hit it? When you saw it go back to him, because it kind of was. I mean, it was a great play drawn up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was a great play. Push the basketball, get the defense collapse, pitch it back.
Mm-hmm.
When it was pitched back to his hands and you were watching it, knowing him and knowing that's your brother, did you say, "My goodness"?
So honestly, I was so in shock that he was so wide open. You know what I mean? He wasn't.
Right.
In actuality, he wasn't crazy wide open. But you know, as a hooper, especially a shooter, if the hand ain't in your face when you catch it, you wide open. So
Right.
for him to be, I was in shock that he was so wide open. It wasn't even no thoughts going through my mind at this point. I'm just like, how is he so open? And then
Right.
as the ball is going up, I'm just hoping that he missed, but I already know it's going in. Like, I know it's going in. You know it's going in. Everybody from DC know it's going in. Like, this is what he does. My father was coaching us for however long. We have been drawing up plays for Chris to step into a catch and shoot shot to win the game his whole life. And he's been doing that his whole life. Like, you could almost say Chris had been preparing his whole life for that moment, because that's just what he did. So, like I said, when that shot was going up, it was, at first, why is he so open? And then two, like, please just don't go in. I know it's going in, but just, God, move the ball a little bit so it don't go in. Because if we went into overtime, we was winning the game. We had all the momentum.
Right.
You know, so, but obviously he hit the shot and it was what it was. I was sitting there saying, like, nah, we got some more time on the clock. We gotta put some more time. Don't drop the confetti. It's not over yet. But
Right.
that's what it was. And I was like, I was sick. I was sick in the moment, but it was weird though for me, because I didn't know how to feel. Honestly. Like, right in the moment, I didn't know how to feel. I was I think I couldn't really process everything in that moment. And once we got back in the locker room, you know, we talked as a team, and it was like, at that point, I was just like, I can't even be mad. Like, I didn't feel mad at all. I didn't feel mad. I didn't feel upset. We did the best that we could in the game. Feel like we should have did a few things different, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. Chris hit the shot to win the game, and it was what it was.
No question. No question. Now, you know, what most people, you know, your brother hitting the shot and, you know, winning the championship that year. Were you guys in the house together that summer at any point in time? Because you know, you got business. Yeah. Tell me about that, Nate. Being in the house, and I know Chris now. You know, how is that walking in that house and both of y'all in that house?
Man, this was the first thing that had me sick. I go home, right? And every year our parents will put like the posters from every year, different pictures, maybe stuff they got framed. They'll have it up in our rooms around the house. I'm sick because I see at least 3 or 4 different things posted up in the house of Chris hitting a shot. And I'm like, I know this was amazing, but y'all don't need a picture frame, a poster on the wall, a poster in his room, a poster in our living room. It was like, come on, like this is too much. So that's the main thing I was sick about. But Chris was real, he was real delicate with it. And I mean, Chris is a great dude. You know Chris.
No question.
So
No question.
it was never no trash talking about it. Like once it happened, it was just kind of like, I can't really say too much. So me on one, and I know I can't really say too much because he could always let that go. So I'm kind of, I'm a little bit less than normal. And for him, he, it's like he got his finger on the trigger, but he ain't pulling it. It's just,
Be careful.
right, exactly. Did you say something?
Anybody say anything here? Oh,
right, exactly. But yeah, like I think that night, I had saw him that night after the game, and we had talked about it a little bit. Cause me, him, my parents, my sister, we all met in either the hotel they were in or hotel we was in at some point. And so we was talking, a little bit and stuff like that. And I mean, with me and him, we really just moved forward like nothing happened, to be honest.
no question.
And
No question.
that's just what it was. But like I said, I think for him, it's enough that I always know. Like, it's so, the actions is so heavy. We don't need to speak on it,
Right. Right.
And like I said, obviously I can't never really jump out there and say too much. So,
well, I mean, yeah, I mean that's something to be said, but you had to put it behind you, and what y'all did,
right,
and so
right.
now you put that behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Now going into your senior year, having that taste of what it takes and what had just happened the previous year, what was the mindset of you guys moving forward?
It was a completely different mindset. Completely different mindset from junior to senior year. I think junior we was kind of like really in the moment, having fun, wide-eyed, taking it all in. Senior year, it was none of that. It was the whole season is business. This is all a business trip. And it started with, I remember, I think it was weights, maybe like preseason weights in the summer like that. And I remember us being like, every rep, every practice, every sprint, all of this is to go back to the championship and win it. It's anything short of that is a failure. Like, and it's unacceptable. And so that was the mindset, and that's how we carried it throughout the season. And that's why I say we had a great season that senior year and we won, but we had way more firepower than our junior year. But the reason why we won our senior year was that mindset. It was a completely different. It was like you said, we got a little taste of that, and it was a whole new beast. We was winning games we should have lost. We was beating teams that was probably better than us or played better games than us. And it was solely that willpower that got us all the way through the season. Like that Kentucky game when Luke hit the shot, probably should have lost that. Probably should have lost a game to Arkansas in the tournament. I would say during the tournament run, those was the two biggest games that we probably should have lost. Oregon probably should have lost. Missed some free throws at the end. That willpower got us those rebounds and those extra possessions. And then just other games throughout the season. Like we had some rough games. I remember, for instance, I talked about that Indiana game my junior year. So apparently they was sick about that game and they wanted revenge off that game. That next year they weren't that good, but we played them at home and they was at us. And that was not a good loss for us. Because they ended up not finishing, I think, in the top 25. So that hurt us, our seeding and stuff like that. So I feel like we weren't as, I don't want to say as good, because I don't want to discredit our team.
Right.
Like I said, we didn't have that firepower, and we had some tougher losses that season. Like that season wasn't as easy or as smooth sailing as junior year was, but we just willed our way to a bunch of wins, willed our way all the way to that championship.
Yep. And so explain to us, Nate, like you said, there was a lot of will. There was a lot of things going on that you probably felt like, hey man, maybe we shouldn't have been here, or it could have gone the other way. But there you
Mm-hmm.
were. You were
Mm-hmm.
there now. Here it is. You're playing in your second national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
What was the thought process in the talk amongst you guys who had just lost the championship game the previous year? What was the thought process, or what were you guys saying to one another to get prepared for to try to go ahead and win that national
Yeah.
championship?
I don't think nothing had changed because from, like I said, that first day in weights in the preseason, we had
Mhm.
already set the tone. So we had carried every game, including that championship game, just like it was the game before.
Mhm.
So at that point, it was almost like second nature. I even remember an instance, I think it might have been Coach Rob or one of our assistants on staff saying, y'all went to back-to-back Final Fours. Like, that's almost unheard of. It's very few people to do that. It's very few people to go to any Final Fours. Y'all back-to-back. Y'all need to enjoy this, soak it in, have fun. It was like, nah, we already did that. we
Yeah.
already that was last year. We had that fun already. Like, if we don't win this, it doesn't, to us it didn't mean nothing. And obviously
Right.
it does, but to us it would have been a waste. So like I said, that game, it was the same mindset. It wasn't, we didn't really need to say much. We didn't really need to talk much. We just really kept the same routine.
Hmm. And so, how was it for you, Nate? There it is. Clock strikes zeros. You are now a national champion. And losing it the previous year to your brother,
Mm-hmm.
and now being able to celebrate it yourself. What was going through your mind? Because the year before you were like, "Oh no, don't let the confetti down."
Right. Right.
Now you said, "Let it
Hey,
down. The confetti is coming
Shammond,
down."
I felt like they delayed that confetti for so long. And I was actually mad. I'm like, nah, drop it. Like, what y'all waiting on? Go. It's over. It's not close. It's not a 2-point margin. It ain't no seconds. Drop the confetti. Like, I was mad they didn't drop it as fast as they did last time. I'm not lying. And so, um, nah, I was actually sick about that. But once the confetti came down, everybody was on the court. I was actually in awe. Like, I was kind of in shock that we had did it. And I think that's when it actually, and not just for me, even for my teammates, I could tell by their emotions and their facial expressions that um none of the process had hit them of what we was accomplishing before we won. And so once we won, all of it hit at one time.
Right.
And like I said, I think it was just like everyone was in awe, everyone was in shock. Like, we actually did this. And for some reason, I can't speak if everyone felt like this, but for me, it felt like just the way it went down the year before that, it was a force that was like trying to keep us from winning. And so it felt like, it was almost like I knew it could be done, but it felt like it couldn't be done because of how it went down. Like, there's never been a buzzer beater championship in NCAA championship game history. But for some reason with us, there's a buzzer beater to win the game,
Right.
So it just felt like that. And once we won, it was like, wow, like, if it was a force, we beat it. If it, or maybe it wasn't, whatever it was, we accomplished what we set out to accomplish. And like I said, all of those emotions, all those feelings rushed and hit at one time. And I think the main thing that I thought about, or that sat with me the most, is seeing guys like you play at Carolina, seeing the long history of Carolina basketball players, alumni, the people that I had always looked up to, and the reasons why I wanted to go to North Carolina. I felt like I had earned my respect with that championship. I felt like Yeah, okay. You like I'm penciled in now. You know,
Yeah.
I got a seat at the table. And I felt official because it's not everyone can put on the jersey, right? Well, actually, let me change that statement. Everyone can't put on the jersey. It's a privilege and an honor to put on the jersey. That's one thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's another thing to be penciled in as achieving something with that jersey on. You know, whether it's something as an individual, whether it's something as you get penciled in because the whole team did something. And so,
Right.
you know, my position, didn't really have an opportunity for any individual accolades for me to be penciled in. But as a team and me being a part of that team, I'm penciled in as winning that championship and being a key part of winning that championship. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was like I don't know. It was like, nah, I'm official now
I'm
for
here now.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
question, man. Yeah. You know, I was so happy for you to win that national championship because, you know, you and I spent a lot of time together,
hmm
from talking, and if I was around, I made sure I was around because I think I got into coaching when you came
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Once you
yeah,
got there, I got into coaching, so I wasn't as around as much. But to see, the sacrifice that you made for the team and being able to play your role,
hmm
I understood it all,
hmm
but it felt great for you to have played that role, and that role helped your team win a national championship.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you know, the one thing that I always, me and my teammates, we always sit back and say, you know, we wish we would have won a national championship. I mean,
yeah,
we got to the Final Four. We went back to back. I've been three times and
yeah,
never to win a national championship. So, to make those sacrifices, and truth be told, I say this, now of age, my senior year we had a 6-man starting rotation, and that's kind of unheard of.
right,
Um,
right,
to to win a national championship, you have to have a player with that caliber talent willing to sacrifice for the team.
yeah,
And you look at, when Coach Williams won it with Raymond, and that was Marvin Williams.
yep,
You know
yep,
what I mean? There's other examples, and then for your team, that was you sacrificing
yeah,
for your team. You know what I mean? And so I always said, even though I had a great career, if I would have known that, you know, if I had sacrificed, maybe me just saying, you know what, I wouldn't start. You know what I mean?
hmm
I don't know
hmm
how realistic that would have been, but for me to
yeah,
say, if I don't start, if I say I ain't gonna start, that's gonna allow me to win a national championship.
yeah,
Here in my older age, I would have said, shoot, okay, I won't start because
right,
you know what I mean. Because at the end
yeah,
of the day, I wanted a national championship. I came
yeah,
back for my senior year to
to
win a
get
national
that,
championship. That's
yeah,
it. That was the only reason, nothing else.
yeah,
And so, for you to be able to attain that, as we started this interview out about your role
hmm
and maybe not wanting to play that role
hmm
and not accepting the role, and but accepting it and then being the best in that role,
right,
that was the greatest sacrifice to
right,
get the ultimate goal,
right, right.
national championship. So, so kudos to you, my brother. Kudos to you.
Appreciate you,
Kudos to
appreciate
you.
you.
So when I get to the end, we get to the end of our, the Carolina conversation.
hmm
I always ask this question, Nate,
Okay,
and it's a difficult question. Now it's a difficult
okay,
question, so I give you a few minutes to think about it. All right, it's the toughest question now. When it's all said and done, all right, and they're looking and they're watching and they're looking at the national championships, and they start looking at those names and they start going through it, and they get to Nate Britt. Boom, there go Nate Britt. Nate Britt, What is it that Nate Britt wants people to remember and know about him?
That's not a tough question.
Okay. All right.
For the people that actually know me, spend time with me, talk to me, that I'm an honest, straightforward guy. I don't beat around the bush. I don't, sideways, nothing. I'm straight about it. So that would be for the people that know me, honest, straightforward guy, good guy with a lot of integrity. For the people who don't know me, who've only watched me play, I would like them to know and understand how much of a winner I am to make those sacrifices, and how tough I am to be able to make those sacrifices, and be in that role that we talked about, and do it well, be the best that I could be at that role. Because one example, not to be long-winded, was when I was still struggling with that role. I remember Coach Rob telling me, he was saying, you had a few games where you haven't played as well, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know I didn't play as well, but my response is kind of like, without me saying it, that doesn't matter. It's not, I'm not averaging 10 points, 10 to 15 points. I'm not, some games I may play 25 minutes, some games I may play 5 minutes. So it's, to me, it was, I didn't understand why he was telling me that. And he had to help me see and understand that I actually was important to the team, because I felt like I wasn't. And for me to hear him, to see what he was saying, and I didn't fully see it until we was actually done, till I graduated and I'm done. But I would say to kind of somewhat blindly have that faith in my purpose and what I was doing and what I felt was right. So just know, like, how much of a winner I am for that, how much toughness that took from me mentally. Because I had a lot of rough days, rough nights mentally about the position that I was in. So that's what I would want fans or people who watched us play, the ones who don't know me, that's what I would want them to know and take into consideration. How good of a player, or how much hype or whatever it is that you can say I had coming in from high school, what I had to bring to the table, and what stuff I sacrificed to make sure we got that championship, and how much of a winner I am for that, and how much toughness I had to be able to do that. I would want that to be acknowledged.
Man, that's big time. You articulated that. Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me? Nate? Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Man, that was articulated. That was big time. That was big, man. That man, you brought smoke with that. Because a lot of times, Nate, to be honest, this is what you were able to accomplish and what you were able to withstand.
Mm-hmm.
Many don't. Many can't. And it goes on a lot in a lot of programs in America.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of kids don't recover from it.
Yeah.
And that's just being honest. A lot
Yeah.
of kids can't recover from that. And you spoke well. I mean, what you said before, how strong of an individual, how tough of an individual mature individual you are to be able to do those things and stay in line and continue fighting and continue doing what's needed so you can be and help your team do something that most teams can't do. Like
Right.
that's toughness.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the most difficult thing to do. And that's the greatest example of toughness. Because somebody that's getting to play 30 minutes and doing what they want to do all the time, this is what I do.
Right.
You know
That's
what I'm
light.
saying? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
light.
Oh man, I can do this. This is what I do. But when you have to do something that you're not accustomed doing, you have to be subservient to the situation. Like as a young man, man, you said it best. You said it best. That's toughness. That is toughness, and that takes you further in life than anything else. And
Yeah.
that's why you where you are. That's why you're going to continue to progress in life. That's why you're going to continue being, the example. Like, you'll be the individual that'll be able to speak to those kids later on in life that, as they say, they're gonna feel you. They're gonna feel you. They'll know the words that are coming out of your mouth. They're gonna know now this right here, because with that success, there's always that has also been a little pain in there. And they gonna feel the pain now.
Yeah.
They're gonna feel it, and they're gonna say, hey, you know what? This real right here. And it's gonna make you, you're already great, but one day, hopefully, God permitting, I have my own program. And when you choose not to play anymore, you could come and be an apprentice.
Hey, I'm right there. I'm the first thing smoking.
You could come and be an apprentice with me, because I you know how I feel about you. You're my little brother, man. I love you. You've been a great example. You just, you're a person that I can tell my children. I can tell Shammond, SJ, that's him. That one. Follow that one. And both of y'all left-handed too. So shit, I actually think he left-handed because seeing you in the gym and being with you in the gym. Because he writes with his right hand and he shoots with his left hand.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So I'm saying he like you. That's
right.
how you was, because you
right.
both hand. You know what I mean? So I said maybe he watched Nate, and that's why he's like he is. But man, you are a great example. You're a great example of our institution. You're a great example of the Carolina family, man. And I'm just so happy and ecstatic for your future. And I can't go any further without saying thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedule. We've been trying to put this thing together, but taking the time out of your schedule, man, to be on the Carolina Conversation. There's no possible way that I can do this without not having you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's please give 2017 national champion Nate Britt another hand.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hey, Shammond, like you said, you are the big bro. I knew that since I stepped foot at Carolina. And you've been very instrumental in that toughness that I talked about, that mindset. And me wanting to be at Carolina, honestly. Because everybody wasn't like us. You know what I mean? So a lot of people cut from different cloths. And even though we from different places, we got some of that same cloth. And
no doubt.
That was something that made me feel comfortable, because like I said, everybody didn't have that.
Right.
A lot of my teammates didn't have that. And just people involved with the program. So, I'ma always appreciate you. I'ma always appreciate what you've done for me. So this is nothing. Like, I had to do this. This was, you saw, as soon as I think you text me, and I might have called you 10 minutes later, and I don't know how long you talked, but that's what it is with us. So I appreciate you for having me, and I'm real glad that we could do this and have this conversation.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I appreciate you, man. It feels good. It feels good. But this ain't the last for us. God permit.
Right.
Hey, we're gonna put it together. We're gonna
For
put it
sure.
together
For
somewhere,
sure.
somehow.
For sure.
But
It's only right. It's only
no
right.
question. No question. And so man, you continue doing great things over there. And you know, I'm always here for you, and God permitting. We're gonna get together this summer.
Okay. That's a bet.
All right.
Yes,
Love
sir.
you, little bro. Thank you again.
Love you.